Welcome back to Stories from the Ether. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Thanks for your support, and let's get started. Life of 11 years cheated for over a year. English isn't my first language, please bear with me. This is the story of my friend Moore. He's like my rival. But I always admired him. He's one step ahead of me, everything. But we were each other's bros. For his privacy, let's call him William, and his wife, Jane Amy A. The names aren't real. So fast forward, William married Jane when he was 23 and she 25, and they have a boy daughter. They met in a trekking and things went smooth. Jane was a smooth talker and a good woman. My wife is suffering from breast cancer and she was there for her. Like Jane was like an older sister to my wife, and William never complained about her. But over a year ago, he mentioned Jane is super protective about her phone and acting cold. He said to me they didn't had sex for over 6 months. And each time when he tries to initiate intimacy, she refuses. Even in their wedding anniversary, she came home at 4 a.m. I knew there was a bunch of red flags, and I told him that probably she might have been seeing someone. He said he has been suspecting it for a long time, but he didn't want to believe that possibility. It kept going on, like she became a rare visitor to my wife. I told my wife his problem, so she agreed to identify it in a sneaky way. After the sneaky talk with my wife Anne, my wife told me she's seeing a guy, but they are platonic and he's a great mechanic. I see. I knew where this was going and my wife knew it too, and I told William about the situation, but he said Jane wouldn't do that. She's my girl, she wouldn't do such an act. NWE. I told him to hire a PI. Said we can at least be okay, so he hired a PI. But he couldn't find any suspicious activities. After 3 months, he came up with a photo. That's all he got. The photo was she was holding hands of a guy walking out of theater. So he called me telling he needed to talk. He looked like a total mess, like a guy who lost everything. He smiled at me and said, "What have I done wrong?" I knew he's in a suicidal condition. So me and him went to a bar and drank to bottom, and he opened up like she was not I thought of. She never do household chores for over 3 months, and she only cares about our boy. All she gives me is a forehead kiss before and after bed. She tells she's either tired or wants some space. In Syrian's family, I knew he was broke. Over days, I told him he's not alone and build a strong mind in him. Our friends circle and other guys supported him. Over time, he realized that she ain't worth. So he went outside marriage and hooked up with a woman at his work. We are in same company but in different departments. Both of them were digital artists. So Will met Helena. She was much younger than him. He introduced her to me and said, "I'm gonna enjoy my life." She was like a model. Like video game spy characters, they had several hookups and like they are couples. He was happy and never cared about Jane A. Things got to start a turn when Jane noticed him been happy and felt like he's been distant. So she confronted me and asked whether Will was seeing someone and how's he doing. But I lied. Also on Christmas, she confessed to her husband that she was having an affair for over a year. That she realizes how precious their marriage is. And how amazing Will hid his tears and asked her about the details. She said, "It was a mistake and it's over and we can be together again." He said it's over between them and he needs a divorce and asked her to leave. So she went to her mom's house and kept calling and texting all day. During this time, Will had made a separate account and moved his funds in there and opened new accounts in several new banks. They withdrew from joint account and kept half of the money for her. She cried and begged not to divorce her. By that time, Will had moved on. And Jane did a suicide attempt and told Will that she'll do anything. And she couldn't live without him, and she'll do anything. Will didn't even bother to visit her at hospital. After the discharge, she came to his home and told all this. He said he needed some clarification and asks her to start talking. If she lies, no second chance. So she told him that he was a local mechanic and she felt lonely and she missed her youth and wanted to feel it again. So first it started by her car breaking down and meeting him. Exchanged their numbers. Over a month it turned sexual. The relationship was an hot, steamy affair. He wanted to know where she was at their son's birthday and their anniversary. She told she was with him. And she was having sex when he called her for their son's birthday. That she told him she was late busy at work. And in anniversary she went for a ride with App and had several sex that day. She even brought him an apartment. Will was crushed hearing that and called her names from AIZ. She says she's sorry and think about our son and we can be his papa and mama again. He said it was a mistake meeting her, and he's fed up of her and she is a dead meat to him. She holds his legs and begs not to leave her. They shall do anything, and AP didn't mean anything. AP is a 27-year-old guy who cheated on Jane and dumped her week before Xmas. She was emotionally attached to AP and me, and Will knew it. After several pleading and counseling, Will took her back. Not because he loved her, it's because he didn't had a choice. In our country, adultery is a fault in divorce, but in order to do so, you need hard evidence. If you can't prove it, then you are phased or fed. You need hard proof to win against her in court too, and Will didn't had any hard evidence. He was busy with Helena all time, but he had other plans in mind. He laid rules, and she had no choice to accept it. Cleaning household is her duty, and laundry. She has to obey anything he says or else she's out. He's always ready for sex whenever he wants and should do any acts he says. All her email, phone account, details, and password should be known to him. He became cold towards her. After sex, he kicks her out of the room and says, "This is his bed, you can sleep in guest bed." And often he comes late at home. He calls her by first name and shouts and curses her for silly mistakes. She soon found about Helena and confronted him, and he told doors open. "You can leave if you like, Ebuai. Jane often visits my wife and asks for advice what to do to save her marriage. She gives tips and advice. My wife was really sad about her. Jane told my wife that she often gets rejected and Will never lets her sleep in the same bed. And one day she dresses up and went to him, but he made fun of her and told her to grow up. She's a mess now. I even feel pity for her. Will often says to his girlfriend that his wife is an old cow and she ain't good as she is. Things gets cruel when she learns Will is going on a business trip with Helena. It shattered her, and Will told her he's not her and they are just friends now, but I knew where they are, and in the company party we were supposed to bring our spouses to it. Jane was looking forward to this. But Will turned her down and said we need to work things out, and he went single and was with Helena all along. Helena was understanding, and they are like a couple. They do everything a couples do. Will told Helena that he would leave Jane when his son is 18. And he told me that too. He treats her like crap. He doesn't do physical abuse, but does mentally, like if she doesn't clean the table, he would say Mr. Mechanic would do that. And if anything she doesn't do in bedroom, he mentions her infidelity and guilts her, saying it's all her fault. I don't know where this gonna end. I think he stayed because of his son. He doesn't care about money, but he's ruthless to Jane now, and things have been going like this. Jane comes to my wife for solace. This is long because of the incidents that happened over 2 years. I'm hoping both of them finds peace. Now for next story. Revenge on cheating wife Newex, as well as the karma that came afterwards. So I am in the army and I was married. I was approaching my first deployment to Iraq. It was very stressful, and it had my wife wanting me to find a way to stay and not deploy. Obvious things any wife would try to talk about. Anyway, so we have no kids but both want them, so we talk about getting out of debt while I'm gone. She talks to her best friend back home in another state where we are both from. Her friend agrees to let her move in and charge a modest $300 in rent so that we can get out of debt and start a family when I come back, a plan I was actually very pleased with. I deploy, she is there crying her eyes out, saying she will miss me and loves me and we will start a family when we get back. Forward 2 months, she starts acting distant, not wanting to talk much on our scheduled calls or text back 1 or 2 word answers. We've been together 6 years, she is never at a loss for words. Anyway, one day she says, I need some space. She asked someone who is 10,000 miles away for space. I say why, she says she just needs space. She wants to find herself, so I remember back when we lived at home, she had a guy who was always being borderline inappropriate. I'm not a very jealous person and I trust her. So I start seeing said guy on in basically all her pictures she posts with a group. Every time he is in the picture, everyone else changes but never him. So for the first time, I'm very jealous and uneasy about everything. So I clone her phone so I receive every text she receives as well as every text she sends. I'll never forget the first text I saw after cloning her phone. Hey babe, I'll see you after work. Want me to save you any of my leftovers? From her to him. It destroyed me. I lost 35 pounds in a week. I didn't eat or sleep. I stared at the phone watching every conversation. Watching them talk about trying to have a baby. It was literally everything a married person fears. I ask her if she is seeing someone and she says no, she isn't. She is taking care of herself and she loves me, blah blah. I don't say anything about receiving her texts for 2 months. Over this time, she finally admits cheating and that he is so much better than me at sex, treating her right, and he does what she wants. During this time, she pays our debt off, gets tattoos with him and matching "I love you" tattoos, goes to shows with him, buying clothes with the money I'm making. So this is where revenge starts. I put a freeze on the account for a month. In that time I change every password to every account to things she won't guess, my jargon slang terms. I block her on FB and my phone so she has no way to contact me. She lost her car to repo a few months later, got kicked out of her place, had to sell her prized shoes and purses just to stay alive. I then find out she got a job at her old restaurant. So I post all the text conversations I have with her and the guy talking about having babies that have time stamps on it, as well as post conversations we had with the matching time stamps showing all of our friends what she has done. I then have friends call and complain at her job constantly on both he and her. They work at a restaurant, so I also have friends dine and dash. They both get fired. So she tries to call my command and tell them that I am abandoning her and she can't provide for herself. My commander knows what is going on. He does nothing because he had something similar happen. Then, about a month before I come back, she calls me from another number to tell me she is pregnant with his kid. Mind you, I'm still gone, so we cannot get divorced yet. She moved away with him, 10 hours from me. April 24, 2018. She calls me 5 months pregnant, crying uncontrollably, asking me where she should go. Apparently, they have a giant blow-up fight. She tells him she is leaving. She says she doesn't know where to go, and I simply say, sorry, not my problem anymore. Fast forward January of this year. She calls me from a mutual friend's phone. He hit me. What to do? Maybe you don't cheat on your husband when he is deployed for some guy who talks a big game. Well, I guess you are happy about this. No, but I'm glad I know I'm not the bad guy in this story. And then the next month, he is cheating on me with 2 girls. I'm sorry, I regret everything I did. I fucked it all. Yeah, you did. In all, this woman destroyed my life, put me into a deep depression I'm still dealing with. But I do feel a little better having proof that I wasn't the problem. To think if this happened even 10 or 5 years ago, I would have come back to an empty bank account, an empty house, as well as seeing my then wife pregnant with another man's baby. She actually hit me up yesterday to ask for some money to help cover rent. Answer a few questions. I realized I left out that we got divorced before the kid was born, so I have no financial responsibility to her, haven't now for almost a year. I mainly used 2Mobile's digit service to clone the phone. Google it, I don't feel like typing it. Also, no, I wasn't celebrating that she was physically abused. I did tell her to call the cops, but that's all I did. It's not right to abuse someone, but I also have no responsibility to watch out for her well-being. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.